Uh, Nicolas Dalby, round 2 TKO, taking the O away from Gabriel Bonfim. Omar, give us your thoughts.
I mean, Nicholas Dalby's a fucking dog. That dude is. I mean, that shit is. It really took a turn for me watching that. Obviously, once we had Bonfim against the cage, it wasn't a great sign. But like, Bonfim was still in it, right? Still throwing, still trying to move, still had, he had a head movement. He had it, right? And then Dalby hit him with a fucking elbow that like you could hear across the other side of the globe. And Bonfim like wiped his face, I think, trying to shake it off. It ain't go nowhere. He was fucked up. From that point on, he was not the same. That one elbow ruined his whole life in that moment. It was, I mean, they brought Dalby in there to lose. Let's be wholly honest, right?
Yeah, yep.
It was a good test, though.
That was, sure, but that was Bonfim's world, right? Bonfim, this up and coming prospect, undefeated
in Brazil, make a star.
Yeah, choking everybody out, doing all kinds of crazy shit, right? Dalby was there to get fed to Gabriel Bonfim, and instead destroyed this man in front of the entire crowd. And not only did he destroy this man in front of the whole crowd, he silenced the crowd. This man knocked him out, walked him out, gave a salute, and no one said a goddamn word in that crowd. It was amazing. It was, I mean, these are the kind of moments for me that make MMA worth it. This shit was,
100%.
it was amazing.
This is the kind of moment, this is the kind of fight where you say, this is why we watch. This is why they fight the
100%
fights. This is why they play the games.
Yep.
Oh,
This is
so
why I
good.
watch this sport.
Like,
I mean,
yes.
dude, Dalby had some beautiful, beautiful Muay Thai in there. Beautiful close fight. Like there's guys who like to fight on the outside. Conor McGregor is one of them, right? You'll see him bounce in and out, even when he's got a guy against the cage. He's still very rangy, right? He keeps his range very, very well. Dalby's like, fuck you. I'm right up against you. I'm right in your face. I'm going to elbow you. I'm going to clinch you. I'm going to punch you. I'm going to knee you. I mean, the pace that man puts on while he's just destroying you is wild.
Yeah, 50% of his effectiveness is the not letting you breathe aspect of it.
And that's a great game plan to bring in there against Bonfim, but turned out to not be intimidated, be like, you might be this undefeated up-and-comer phenom, but I'm just going to go right at you.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And if you don't have an answer for it, man, if you don't have an answer for it, you spend too much time trying to figure out what to do, and by the time you have any idea, you're already tired because you've been on the back foot now for like 3-4 minutes. You know what I mean? It's rough. It's rough.
Mark, let's bring you in here. What were your reaction as you watched this fight?
My reaction is put some respect on Nicolas Dalby's name. First off, what a friggin' win. Yeah, I mean, Omar said some of this, but the man marched into Brazil as a huge underdog against a 15-0 killer who had never even seen scorecards in his career, and he absorbed the best he had to offer and then took him out. And for those that may not be aware of Nicolas Dalby, like, yes, he has a couple losses that you don't love, which is why he's not a ranked level fighter, but he now holds victories over Zaleski dos Santos, who we'll talk about, Daniel Rodriguez, Muslim Salikov, Gabriel Bonfim, and also has a draw with Darren Till. That's a pretty damn good resume. He is the real deal, and he has proved it again here. Bonfim came out on fire, just like he usually does, but Dalby made a decision in his mind that he was walking forward no matter what. He was like, I am going to break this man before he puts me down. And in the first round, you could tell that Bonfim didn't love the constant pressure, but he was dynamic enough to find ways to counter it. And then in round 2, he gets that takedown and half the round passes, and it's all looking well and good. But when Dalby gets up and he is still just coming straight forward with that constant pressure again, you could see it. Bonfim started to look like he was like, all right, enough. Like, he wanted to be like, can you give me a break? Like, he had that look on his face where he was like, when is this dude going to fucking back off? And that kind of pressure will break you, man. And it broke Bonfim. He really looked like he hit a point where he was like, this is crazy. And I think he kind of started to panic a little internally as he like wasn't getting the breath under control and wasn't getting to reset. And Nick Dalby smelled blood, and he didn't let him escape. And Dom Cruz said it best. He said that Nicolas Dalby's game plan was to make it a race. And that's exactly what he did. Bonfim jumped out ahead, but he couldn't hold the lead, and Dalby closed hard and finished that fight. Huge fucking win.
Huge win, man. Oh, can't wait to rewatch that one. Let's talk about the winner here, Nicolas. What's his nickname? The Danish Dynamite.
That might
Nicolas
be it.
Nicolas Dalby moving up into the welterweight, more and more towards the welterweight rankings here. Mark, what are your thoughts?
I think he's earned himself another real shot. I know the loss to Tim Means was only a couple years ago, but the wins he's getting right now and the way he's looking in these last few, I think he deserves another pretty big fight. First one I'll say is not super realistic. It's definitely swinging for the fences, and I'm not even sure the other guy would accept this, but I would really love to see him and Rafael dos Anjos. I just think the back and forth and the pace and the war that fight could give us is awesome. Again, that might be a little too much in terms of what he can actually get. So if not that, then I'll say Santiago Ponzinibbio.
Nice. Omar, do you have any other ideas?
Yeah, so I did think about RDA, and I also came to the conclusion that RDA is not going to take that fight because he probably doesn't know who the fuck Nicolas Dalby is.
I know.
So I did, and no shade to Dalby. I just don't think RDA is at a point now where he's looking at guys that he doesn't already know, you know?
Right. I know.
But I landed on Michael Chiesa. I thought this would be a good fight, a good test of Dalby to see where he's at in that sense. And honestly, at this point, to see where Chiesa's at, because he's had a little bit of a rough go lately.
I like that too. Yeah,
I mean,
so
Chiesa's been, yeah, Chiesa's been killing it in his, building his commentary career. I loved lightweight Chiesa. I feel like welterweight, it's just it's a tough. I feel like it's been a tougher weight class for him.
Dog, I can tell you that as a person who has stood next to Chiesa, he ain't making 155. It's not.
Oh no, he's never making 155 again. He got so fucking
he's a tall
big.
Guy.
He's a big welterweight.
He is a massive human being. Like he's way bigger than I thought he was. He ain't going nowhere near 155. Not safely, anyway.
He's listed at 6'1".
Yeah. He's thick though. He's thick boy. He's not skinny, man.
At this point, yeah, he let himself fill out when he came up for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Let's talk about the Brazilian, Mr. Gabriel Bonfim. The hype train has momentarily stopped. Omar, think about who at welterweight you'd want to see him at next to maybe right the ship.
I feel like it's more than just stopped. I feel like we done come off the tracks just a little bit. Bonfim done got fucked up, man. That was a rough one. I think you got to pump the brakes a little bit, right? I think we had the nice prospect moment. It's his first loss. It's not like he's going anywhere, right? He's still a great fighter at this point. But I do think you need to pump the brakes. I think they were trying to throw him in this deep water to see how far he could swim, and the man almost drowned. So let's take it back a step, and let's give him somebody like Max Griffin, who comes in there to scrap, and let's see what we can do.
That's a great one, Mark.
Exact same matchup.
Hey, let's go. Let's go.
I think you don't want to, bump him back too far or anything. Obviously, we see the talent that he has, but I think you put him in there against another veteran guy who knows how to win fights and can be tricky and poses some threats, and you see if he can pass that test.
Yep, that's a great way. If for Max Griffin to win that fight too, like just taking the Bonfim part aside, but Max Griffin getting Bonfim on his resume as a win, that's a big moment for Max Griffin.
Yeah, and he's coming off the loss to Morales, so there's no reason that he wouldn't be taking that fight. So yeah, 100%. It's a good fight for both of them, I think.
100%.
Bonfim, he's only like 21-1 now, so it's not like he's like suddenly a bum. But as he's marching up into these UFC, rankings further and further up, again, like Max Griffin is the kind of guy who is a real veteran of the sport now. He's not going to be intimidated by a guy just because he has some great record coming into the UFC. He's not going to be intimidated. He's not going to back down. He has a complete skill set in Max Griffin, so that's a good one. I hope they make that. Man, that'd be great bragging rights for you guys.
I'm not always super sold on dudes that are undefeated in general, just because there's still those questions to be answered on how he can take a loss. How does he come back from a loss, right? Gabriel Bonfim been riding a nice little wave. He's been, messing dudes up here and there. Does the confidence take a hit now, right? Is it just a loss? We can just brush it aside and just keep working and, but is it now a concern? Is he going to now be concerned that somebody can crack him the way that he just got cracked? You know what I mean? There's just questions now that need to be answered that we've never had to do with Bonfim before. And I think we'll get a better sense of who he is as an overall fighter in his next fight and whether he's really that championship caliber or just a decent fighter that we'll see kind of throughout the UFC years.
That's an interesting thought. I don't know if I agree. I feel like to be undefeated in MMA is a big deal because I feel like it's so hard to be undefeated in MMA.
I don't disagree with you, but you also have to take account the level of resume, right? Bonfim has fought people that just weren't at his caliber, but we as a fan base are trying to figure out what that ceiling is for him, right? Everybody's hyping him up. He could be champion, and he just got his ass mollywopped by Nicolas Dalby. And it's not to say that Gabriel Bonfim can't be champion, but now he's got that loss, right? Now he's got something that could prevent him mentally from doing well in his next fight. I'm not saying that it will, but we don't know. And I think that's more my point is now we'll get a better sense as to who he is as a fighter having to come back from adversity.
It just makes me think of like boxing, like so many more guys in boxing. I feel like everybody's undefeated in boxing because they all wait until they're all making millions to fight each other.
Here's an example. Max Holloway, right? We've seen Max Holloway lose. It doesn't, for me, take any shine away from who he is as a fighter by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, knowing how he loses and comes back in his next fight, almost like, not to say that it doesn't affect him, but you could see that he still puts on the best performance. There's nothing that really changes his confidence after he loses a fight, right? He accepts it, he learns from it, he builds off of it, and we continue to move on. We don't know if Bonfim can do that. Hopefully he can, and we see him better in the cage next time. But we've also seen fighters who are undefeated all of a sudden start losing 3-4 in a row out of nowhere. And then we don't see them in the UFC anymore. So just an interesting point.
Let us move on.
I agree with both of you.
Congrats to Nicolas Dalby, man. That fight gave me fucking chills, bro.
No, it did.
Congratulations, or I'm sorry that happened.